Late last week, Secretary of State Antony Blinken traveled to China to meet with President Xi and China's foreign minister. President Xi said the two countries should be partners, not rivals, but a growing trade war, differing opinions on Taiwan, and opposing views on the Russia-Ukraine war have only further contributed to the sharp tensions between our two countries. In his new book, World on the Brink, How America Can Beat China in the Race for the 21st Century, leading national security expert Dmitry Alperovich, who's also co-founder of one of the world's largest cybersecurity companies, CrowdStrike, breaks down the geopolitical challenge the U.S. faces with China. First and foremost, how to deter China from invading Taiwan. And joining us now is Mr. Alperovich. Dmitry, thank you so much for joining us. So just last week, China described that they'd like to have a peaceful reunification with Taiwan. In response, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. continues to pursue the one China policy and does not support Taiwan independence. What do you think of that response? Does that sound like the United States will not support or defend Taiwan if China decides to invade?
No, the one China policy means that we are for the status quo. We're not for forceful reunification or unification with Taiwan, but we also do not support Taiwan declaring independence. This has been our policy for 50-plus years. However, China is the one that is trying to break the status quo. They're the ones that are gearing up for invasion, train their military to execute this plan, similar to what Vladimir Putin did in Ukraine. They're trying to do in Taiwan.
And you warned about Russia's invasion of Ukraine long before many others did. And you quote national security official Rob Joyce in your book, who says Russia is a hurricane and China is climate change. What did he mean by that?
He means that it's a pacing threat. This is a long-term play for China. Russia is an immediate problem. Certainly, the brutal war that they're waging in Ukraine is a major concern for us. But I believe in the next 4 to 8 years, China may go after Taiwan. And the reason why that timeline is that Xi is now in his 70s. He is looking at the end of his term, potentially in 2032, and he wants to do this on his watch, just like Putin wanted to do it on his watch in Ukraine.
And so do you feel that this is a matter of when, not if?
I think for Xi, yes. I think another Chinese leader may push this off to future generations, but he has said specifically he wants to do it in his time frame.
With regard to our economy, our military, the United States certainly seems to be in a better place than China. But what do we need to do in order to really try to deter them from invading Taiwan?
Well, I believe there are two things here. I believe we're in a Cold War with China, Cold War II as I call it, that is remarkably similar to the first Cold War. And the first thing is, yes, we need to make sure that China does not take Taiwan. Taiwan is really existential to U.S. interests because of its position in the region. Whoever controls Taiwan really controls that Indo-Pacific region. But secondly, we have to win the Cold War. And that is a technological war. We have to win the AI race, the semiconductor race, the space race, all of those things that are playing out right now in the technological realm. We have to make sure we're leading.
Do you think that we're well-suited to win those races?
I think we have all the ingredients for victory. The big question is, do we have the political will?
And what do you say with regard to China's economy? I mean, it's pretty much in shambles at this point because of a real estate bubble. But does that make them more likely to invade Taiwan or less likely?
In the past, you've certainly had cases where domestic disturbances have led to adventurism overseas, whether it's Mao interfering in Korean War or Vietnam War during the Cultural Revolution. So it may very well drive Xi, if he thinks that he's not going to catch up with the United States in terms of being the biggest economy, it may drive him to go for this sooner.
I want to ask you about TikTok. That's not something that you discussed in your book, but as a cybersecurity expert, how dangerous do you think that TikTok really is? Obviously, Congress seems to think if it's not sold by its parent company, that it should be banned. Do you feel that that's too drastic of a step?
No, I don't. And the danger here is really not privacy, because let's face it, Americans have no privacy anymore. All the data is available. The Chinese can buy it off data brokers. The danger is the influence, because you don't know what you're seeing on TikTok and what you're not seeing. What is being filtered by both the algorithms and moderators that are on that platform. It is controlled by a foreign adversary. And imagine if we had Pravda publishing in the United States everywhere at the same subscription numbers as the New York Times. We would never let that happen during the first Cold War. We should not let it happen during the second.
Dmitry Alperovich, we thank you so much for the discussion. Quite an insightful conversation.
Thank you.
Your book, World on the Brink, How America Can Beat China in the Race for the 21st Century, comes out this week.